Call of Duty is like a rash that never wants to go away. I myself have been a big fan of this series all the way back playing through the campaign of the original Modern Warfare, aka Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. It wasn't until Modern Warfare 3 where a 13-year-old me really got addicted and would stay up all night playing the ever-living crap out of Call of Duty's multiplayer. When I purchased MW3 for the first time, it was on Nintendo. I remember going through the campaign using a buddy of mine's Pro controller and was really enjoying it. That is until I had to go home and give him back his controller and had to use the Wii remote and nunchuck method due to the fact that I just did not own a Wii Classic Pro controller at the time. Yeah, I really hated this control style when I was a kid. It just felt too clunky for my liking and would get some form of nauseating feeling whenever I do mess with it. That is until I returned the game and was able to get it on my PlayStation 3. Looking at Call of Duty's history on Nintendo platforms, it is honestly a very interesting to look back on. So today I wanted to go ahead and make a video just discussing about every single Call of Duty game on Nintendo. So I brought up my initial love for the series and the very first time I experienced Call of Duty's multiplayer. But what if I was to tell you that the very first time that I actually ever played a Call of Duty was on the Nintendo GameCube with a little game called Call of Duty Finest Hour. Call of Duty Finest Hour was released back in November 16, 2004 and was the very first console Call of Duty game to release. This was based on the original Call of Duty that released on Windows, but this one was more of or kind of considered a side story. Honestly, I don't remember much of this game, as when I did play this, I was like 6 years old. The only thing that I remember vividly randomly is that there was a boss fight where I had to destroy a tank, but that really is all that I can remember about this game. Comparing this version on GameCube versus PlayStation 2 and Xbox, sadly on Nintendo's platform it did not support any form of online multiplayer. Really, all you had was the campaign and local split-screen multiplayer. And this was also the same thing with the release of Call of Duty 2, the big red one, which released the following year on November 1st, 2005. This one I myself didn't play, so I really don't have anything really to say about this one. But I have heard that many people just kind of see this as kind of being the same as Call of Duty Finest Hour. But yeah, those were the very first Call of Duty games to release on the original Nintendo GameCube. The next time that we would see Call of Duty released on a Nintendo console would be on the Nintendo's next-gen system, the Nintendo Wii. November 19th, 2006 was not only the release of Nintendo's next-gen system, but we also received Call of Duty 3. On Nintendo, this game was solely a single-player campaign-focused games, which means this did not have any form of online or even local multiplayer. I never purchased this game myself, but I have tried it when I was a kid at a friend's house, and yeah, I did not like it. The motion controls were a bit clunky for my liking, and like I've mentioned in multiple videos here, is that I was just never really much of a fan of the motion controls on Wii games back then when I was a kid. But actually now being an adult, now I actually kind of don't really mind them as much. I actually kind of think that they're pretty alright now, and don't really get a form of motion sickness as I did when I was a kid, weirdly enough. And though the motion controls were a bit clunky, as I mentioned, or again felt clunky for me, I also remember just not really enjoying the controls or the way how the button inputs were set up. It really wasn't until the next game where they finally got the controls down, as in this game here in Call of Duty 3, you actually had to go ahead and press the A button on the Wii remote, and that was actually how you aimed your weapon and you fired with the B button. Yeah, it was a very interesting, very experimental time of Call of Duty here on Nintendo's next-gen platform. But again, like I mentioned, thankfully in future iterations of these games to come, they finally did actually make the buttons a lot more better. Call of Duty World at War was the next game we received, releasing on November 11th, 2008, day and day with the Xbox 360 and PS3 versions. This game finally was able to introduce Nintendo players the chance to experience Call of Duty multiplayer online. I will give you guys a cool little thing about this game, is that many COD YouTubers, one being the OG of COD YouTubers being known as Ali, he actually got his first start with this version of the game. The only downside of this game was, yes, due to the Nintendo Wii being weak, it did not look as good as its Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 counterparts, which is a thing that we will be kind of noticing a lot when it comes with all of the Nintendo Wii versions of their other counterparts here. But the other thing here as well is that it also lacked the zombies mode. In the original Xbox 360 and PS3, the way how you would actually gain access to the zombies mode was for, of course, completing that campaign. But here on the Nintendo Wii version, we did not have that luxury or that ability to experience the zombies mode. One other thing that it also lacked was any form of online updates and downloadable content that other versions had. Nintendo players were basically stuck with whatever bugs and broken mechanics were on here, and the worst part, since there was no updates, there was an abundance of cheaters and hackers. One of the main big things were, of course, resetting player stats or honestly just making you be at the max level instantly. So reason why I'm just notating this here is because this is an issue that occurred with every single release here on the Wii. So just kind of keep that in mind, that a lot of the cheaters and hackers kind of thing, they were pretty abundant here on Nintendo platforms. Now, many of you may have noticed that we missed a Call of Duty, this being the Call of Duty game that made Call of Duty what it is today, and I'm talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Nintendo players were finally able to get their hands on this masterpiece on November 10th, 2009. While the rest of the world was enjoying Modern Warfare 2, Nintendo players got Call of Duty Modern Warfare Reflex. The original Modern Warfare and really all of the Modern Warfare trilogy was handled by Infinity Ward, but with the port of Modern Warfare Reflex, it was actually handled by Treyarch. And pretty much every single Call of Duty game that was ported over to the Nintendo platforms, they were all actually handled by Treyarch themselves. Treyarch was really the Nintendo devs through the entirety of the Call of Duty series on the Wii and even on the Wii U, as they ported every non-Treyarch game and even their own games. Getting back on top of here, you guys are probably wondering, what does the Reflex mean on the title? Does it mean that we're getting a definitive version of Modern Warfare on Nintendo? Does it mean that we're getting not only the full Call of Duty 4 experience, but added with all the updates in DLC? Nope, it's just on the title as a marketing ploy, really. At least the nice thing here is that this game really had everything the original Modern Warfare had to offer, minus the DLC maps, and also a decrease to player numbers in a lobby from 12 to 10, as well as the removal of ground war. Not only that, there was also no offline multiplayer. I did try out this version with that same frame as I mentioned on COD 3, and with this one, the motion controls on this one just overall felt fine. Weirdly enough, as a kid playing this back then, it actually didn't really make me as sick as, again, World at War or really COD 3 really made me feel. But overall, when it came to this game on Nintendo, a lot of the community was actually really happy with this port, and really wasn't any negatives besides, of course, the abundance of cheaters and hackers still being there, and of course being there the lack of updates and DLC added to the game. But overall, it was still a really good game because, I mean, it's Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, the very first Modern Warfare. This game in general, if you ask me, is pretty much considered to be a masterpiece. So when it came to a lot of the errors and stuff, a lot of Call of Duty Wii players just kind of looked the other way. Now, as I mentioned, the same day that Modern Warfare 2 released on other platforms, aka the 360 and PS3, we all got our hands on Modern Warfare 1. So pretty much this meant that Modern Warfare 2, when it came to Nintendo players, we never received this game. But the very next year, when the next Call of Duty game was finally released, this game actually did ship day and day with all the other systems on Nintendo. This being Call of Duty Black Ops. Releasing on November 9th, 2010, this was honestly a big turning point for not only the series as a whole, but this is honestly, I would say, where a lot of videos from Nintendo content creators showed up. People like Icon Boy released videos showing gameplay and making montages for the Wii community was really getting popular on YouTube. Many people made fun of the awfully dated graphics this version had compared to the PS3 and Xbox 360 counterparts, but that didn't stop Nintendo users to have a blast with this game. I myself actually picked up a copy of Black Ops on the Wii just for the purpose of getting gameplay for this video, and though the online services are down, you can still have a lot of fun with its offline modes. At launch, you had access to one of the best campaign stories, a peak multiplayer experience, and for the first time on Nintendo, the ability to experience the infamous Zombies mode. Though, unlike the other versions of Xbox 360 and PS3, we did receive for the very first time updates to the game, but sadly, no DLC. But regardless of all that, Black Ops was where I would say was the very peak of Call of Duty on Nintendo. I actually remember playing this version at a different buddy of mine's house and can remember the chaotic fun that was playing Nuketown here for the very first time. Not only that, this was the first Call of Duty game that supported the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, but as well as the newly released Pro Controller, which made scrubs like me finally have a traditional controller-like feel when experiencing this game. Black Ops really just changed the entire way of Call of Duty on Nintendo, and though a lot of people outside of the Nintendo community were of course making fun of this version, people on the actual Nintendo community, we were all just having a blast playing this game, regardless of us getting DLCs or not. Many of us really considered Black Ops, and even still to this day on Xbox 360 and PS3, consider this to be one of the very best Call of Duty games. And so honestly, I think a lot of Nintendo players, just because of just how massive and just how much content was already in this game put in day one, a lot of us really weren't too upset, I guess, of not getting DLC. But regardless of all that, Black Ops 1 on Nintendo Wii is where I personally would say was the very top peak of Call of Duty on Nintendo community. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 released day and day with all the other versions on November 8th, 2011, and I have explained to you guys my story with this game, but I did recently pick up this game as well with Black Ops to provide gameplay for y'all, and sadly, with the online servers down, there really is nothing that I can do besides experiencing the campaign here. Multiplayer, just like in Black Ops 1, did not have an offline multiplayer mode, and really that's one of the big things that I noticed here when going through every single Call of Duty game on Nintendo Wii, that a lot of the Call of Duty games here really didn't have any form of multiplayer or offline multiplayer modes. There wasn't any form of local co-op that you can do, and so because of that, currently in this day and age, there really isn't really a way to experience these games multiplayer modes. This also saddens me to say, but the underappreciated survival mode as well is not playable in offline mode, but I do remember seeing a lot of YouTubers at the time complain about this game, and this is where I would also say was randomly the beginning of the end for Call of Duty on Nintendo. Funny enough. YouTubers like Icon Boys, I mentioned earlier, Mr. Honey Noobs, and other creators talked about the hackers and cheater situations on here. Especially them messing with content creators accounts like Icon Boy, he actually went ahead and was able to get resetted by hackers and make his account to level 1. This was honestly a massive issue, and I remember hearing a lot of YouTubers talking about how sadly their voices just never got heard. No updates again and no DLC, leaving Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 to be a massive disaster, and a realization that Activision really just saw the Nintendo player base as an afterthought. And this is what I mean with the fact that Black Ops 1 was peak Call of Duty on Nintendo, and weirdly or sadly to say, the very next year Modern Warfare 3 was already the very first chopping block for the downfall of Call of Duty on Nintendo, I would say. Or so we thought, actually. With the release of Nintendo's next-gen system, the Wii U, it came with a massive surprise that Activision actually came forth and spoke about this version in E3 2012 during a Wii U preview presentation. This was, to many Nintendo players, thought that with the release on the Wii U, Call of Duty would finally be getting updates and potentially DLC with this new system. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Sort of. Now, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 was a launch title for the Wii U, releasing on November 18th, 2012. This version of the game had the full campaign, multiplayer, and zombies experience day and day as all the other versions had. One thing that I actually just want to go ahead and point out here was that it did have an extra little benefit the Wii U version had compared to the PS3 and Xbox 360, and that was that this game randomly actually had a loading screen when you were to switch modes going through campaign, multiplayer, and zombies. It doesn't really add much or anything or whatever. I just wanted to point that out as a victory to Nintendo players. But going back to the sort of that I mentioned when it came to Nintendo players receiving a form of DLC, Nintendo players did actually receive Nuketown 2025, but not day one though. No, Nintendo players had to wait until an update patch that was released on August 7th of 2014, almost 2 years since the game's original release. Though I will say it was cool to see this version of Nuketown, but this was just stupid having to wait so long for this release. Some of you would be asking, since it took so long for us to receive this map, did we receive any other maps? Maybe a new zombies map? Nope, we got nothing else. It was a big disappointment, but I'm not gonna lie, Vanilla Black Ops 2 was such an amazing game that the Nintendo players were still satisfied. Now, I originally played this game back on the PS3, got a Prestige Master, and got all of the DLCs and even got Diamond Camo on assault rifles and submachine guns, but with the Wii U version, I did actually finally get around to playing it back in early 2014, and I played it non-stop on the Wii U gamepad and even on my TV, where I also got near to Prestige Master. I believe I actually got to Prestige 6 in this, and I even had diamonds on my assault rifles. This game, regardless of what system you played on, was just addictingly fun. Not to mention that thanks to the incredible Miiverse, a social hub where you can chat with people about games on the Wii U, there was a dedicated Black Ops 2 page, and that's actually how I was able to meet and make a lot of new friends and make my personal experience with Black Ops 2 on the Wii U even better. It just really sucked during the E3 2012 presentation that we saw Activision devs really supporting and pushing the Wii U version of Call of Duty here, and so because of that, a lot of us really were hoping that this would be finally our chance to receive all the DLCs or just any form of DLC and updates here for the game, and sadly, we didn't really get anything besides Nuketown 2025. I honestly would have preferred if we actually would have gone at least an extra zombies map with Nuketown. It would have been so nice to receive Nuketown zombies at the very least as another free map with that same update where we got 2025 for multiplayer, but sadly, that's honestly how they left it, and that was the very last update that we got for Black Ops 2 on Wii U. But to still end in a positive, this to me is the Call of Duty game where I spent a lot of hours on a Nintendo platform. But little did I know, I unfortunately joined right at the very end. Call of Duty Ghosts released on November 5th, 2013 and was the very last Call of Duty game to release on Nintendo platform. And that's right, it's been over a decade now since we've seen this franchise on Nintendo, so let's go ahead and talk about what went wrong here. Well, the game itself was very divisive, where a lot of the community hated how slow and just lifeless it looked. Not just on Wii U, but on all platforms. On Wii U, we had all the same features as all of the other platforms day one, that being the campaign, squads, multiplayer, and extinction mode. You guys by now should get the picture. No DLC, well, actually, wait a minute. Free fall. That's right, we did get free fall, but as I mentioned, it did take almost close to a year to release for Wii U owners, releasing on March 4th, 2014. And this, unlike in Black Ops 2 with Nuketown 2025, this actually was the very first time that we got DLC, and no, it didn't just came in an update as how Black Ops 2 did. Nuketown 2025, in order for you to actually get it on Wii U, you actually had to go ahead and update the game that we received there in August. But here in Call of Duty Ghosts, you actually had to go to the eShop and download the Freefall map, pretty much showcasing that the Wii U versions of Call of Duty should have and could have received DLC, but for some odd reason, Activision just refused to release them. I don't understand why Activision in 2014 they were really just blue balling the Nintendo community here. With this map, it did finally mark the very first time DLC was available on Nintendo platforms, as I mentioned, but sadly, this was all that we got when it came to Call of Duty Ghosts. There really isn't much to speak about this title on Wii U. I did pick up this game on Wii U back in the day, and basically everyone, including with the people that I spoke with on Miiverse, we would always just say, let's go back and play Black Ops 2. This was during the same time where a lot of people were getting tired of the yearly release cycle of Call of Duty. I did personally enjoy my time though with Call of Duty Ghosts, whether it was either me playing it on PS3 and even on Wii U here. But the main thing that I will say here that I'm very saddened to say that never came back to any future Call of Duties is Extinction Mode. That to me was one of the very best things about Call of Duty Ghosts, but sadly we never got any DLC, as I mentioned here, on Wii U, so all we had was the release map and that was it. It really did not take long after the release for the Wii U online player count to drop. Like I mentioned, whenever anyone that I knew wanted to play Call of Duty on Nintendo, we always preferred to hop on back to Black Ops 2 instead of Call of Duty Ghosts. So with that, sadly Ghosts on Wii U really struggled in even sustaining a player count, and those that did stay, unfortunately, were playing what many considered at the time to be the very worst Call of Duty game in history. Thankfully, now people seem to have a bit more of a fondness to this game, but I would say that is all thanks to the DLCs and not just the base game. And that is pretty much all of the Call of Duty games that we have ever received here on Nintendo platforms. Looking back, it does suck that this was the way Call of Duty went out on Nintendo. There was many videos I would see from old Nintendo Call of Duty creators that would still upload videos talking about if the next Call of Duty game would release on Nintendo. And it really wasn't until after Black Ops 3 releasing back in 2015 that the Nintendo player base and all support from Activision was just poof, gone. I remember just seeing a lot of different YouTube videos back then from a lot of different creators just talking about is Black Ops 3 is going to be coming to the Nintendo Wii U, as we actually did get PS3 and Xbox 360 versions of Call of Duty Black Ops 3. But sadly, for some odd reason, Activision just refused to release Call of Duty Advanced Warfare and even Black Ops 3, even though those titles actually received previous gen versions, something that the Wii U should have been easily able to actually run. My favorite Nintendo Call of Duty YouTubers like Icon Boy basically started to fade away, and the thought of Call of Duty ever coming back to Nintendo was highly unlikely. As of August 2nd, 2023, this is the day where a lot of the classic Call of Duty servers were shut down. And then on April 8th, 2024, the day that I dread to think of came in with it, the shutdown of the Wii U servers, basically marking the end of an era of a once beloved series on Nintendo. Though all hope is not lost, thanks to the recent acquisition of Activision Blizzard from Microsoft, they apparently did mark a deal with Nintendo to release a new Call of Duty game day to day with all other consoles for 10 years. And this also, of course, includes most likely all DLC content would also be coming to Nintendo. We have yet to see the very first Call of Duty on Nintendo to release a part of this deal, but I do have a feeling that either with the release of Black Ops 7 set to release this year, or even Modern Warfare 4 rumored to release next year, we may finally see a return to Call of Duty on Nintendo. And that is basically it, guys. I want to go ahead and just end off this video and ask you guys all a question, and that is, when did you guys started playing Call of Duty, whether it was on Xbox 360, PS3, PS4, Xbox One, heck, even with the most recent consoles on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S? Did you guys even play them on Nintendo platforms such as back on the Nintendo GameCube as I did, or even on the Nintendo Wii or the Wii U? But with that being said, guys, again, I hope you guys still enjoyed this video nonetheless, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.